Rev up your engines!
Well, here's some more baloney about the government regulations' supposed greenness. Okay, automakers are now getting a break with revised, updated fuel economy standards. They're saying that electric cars are even better than what we thought. We're going to give you even higher ratings of how you're saving fuel, so it'll counteract the big gas-guzzling internal combustion engines that people are buying. And this all comes down to the same nonsense as these carbon credits. So you get carbon credits for growing trees in the forest, some nonsense, you know. It's just horse manure. Now the government has said, oh, we'll give you even more credit for these EVs that, let's face the facts, people don't really want to buy. People are buying large SUVs, trucks, right? The government's saying, well, okay, we'll give you more credits for the few electric vehicles you sell to counteract it, right? It's all horse manure. Here's what's happened. The U.S. Department of Energy has eased the provisions of its new fuel economy rules, enabling GM and other automakers to claim higher fuel economy credits from their existing EV models and potentially save themselves billions of dollars in fines. The deal was, if you sell gas-guzzling hogs and not electric cars, you will pay fines, the companies, right? And of course, if they do pay the fines, guess what the fines come from? You buy their cars and they raise the price, right? Now, it isn't just a coincidence that this is happening now before the election to try to get the voters to vote for the Democrats, right? Oh, well, yeah, you can keep building those cars. Oh, we'll make it easier. We'll give you more credits. All of this stuff is a bunch of total nonsense. Now, what are they going to eventually say? Oh, each electric car is worth 3 billion miles of internal combustion gas hog engines. It's total nonsense. These people are just living in an ivory tower, and then they just change the rules so that it fits what's happening. They find out, gee, people aren't buying these electric cars, right? And so now they're giving more credit for the ones that they are selling to counteract it. It's totally absurd nonsense. Well, I guess the Honda dealers might be quaking in their boots. Honda just announced they're cutting their dealer margin by 44%. Now, it's an experiment. They're not doing it in the United States. They're doing it in Canada because the people have been getting ripped off so bad there. Honda is clamping down on their dealerships. And I love the picture here because it's got a picture of Ricky from Trailer Park Boys making a face since he's a Canadian, right? Here's some of the comments on the video that this guy made about how the Canadian Honda dealerships are getting their margins cut. One guy says, I have no sympathy for dealers. Buying a new vehicle is an infuriating experience. However, the OEMs have gotten pretty damn greedy, too. New vehicle prices have far outpaced inflation, which is already high. Greed ruins everything. I agree with it entirely. I mean, the other day when a guy came to me and he said, I was going to buy this new Ford pickup. I wanted a loaded F-150, and it was 81 grand at the dealer. How did that get so high? I mean, shit, there's inflation, but it's nowhere near that level. I mean, 81 grand for an F-150 pickup. Well, Honda's trying to do something about it in Canada to keep their people from getting ripped off for buying them. Here's another Canadian, and he says, I've seen this before. My local Honda dealer put 1 or 2 models on the lot, put cones between the parking space to make it look sparse, and then tell you it's the only Accord in the lot, and we have an $11,000 markup. But then when you go around a corner, there are 100 Accords lying around. What a scam. Well, they say one of the least trusted occupations are car salesmen. Kind of fits right in. The Canadian Honda's trying to do a deal about it. I doubt if they'll try it in the United States. We're too big, and the dealers would probably sue them or something. But it has gotten out of hand. They've outpaced inflation by so far. And then when something's popular, they jack it up, right? It's enough to make you throw up. I see it here in Tennessee. It was so bad that one of my customers only found one Toyota dealership in Nashville that didn't mark it up over MSRP, and he bought his car there. But all the other ones were marking the heck out of him. Now, he did his due diligence, did research, and bought it at a place that didn't mark it up. So if you are looking for cars, do shop around. Do price against each other. Don't just go and buy because they're out there. They're greedy people, right? And if they don't think you're going to be able to find it somewhere else, they're going to jack it up. So you do look. I had one guy here, even Nashville was too expensive, so he flew to Colorado, went skiing, and came back with a new Corolla hybrid. And he saved himself $8,000. It was that much cheaper in Colorado. He flew out there, skied, and drove it back. So look around when you're buying a new car. Don't just accept the nearest guy to your house. Well, here's the reason you want to do the most research you possibly can if you're buying a used car. A Wichita car dealer in Kansas was indicted for rolling back odometers. He set them back, and they caught him at least 27 times. They had 27 ones that they found that he set the odometer back. If you see my video I made a while back, it's very simple for a mechanic or a dealership to set the odometer back. They are all electronic. Back in the day, they were mechanical. And you could, but it was kind of a pain. Today, they just get a computer like I have, and they can push a button, and they can put the odometer to say whatever mileage they want. There's a little kind of glitch that, well, if the odometer is replaced in the car, you have to be able to put the same mileage on. So the machines that mechanics like myself have the ability to reprogram them to put whatever mileage you want on them, right? You're supposed to put the mileage the car had if you change the odometer, but these guys are just taking a car and they're setting the odometer back. Guy had 3 dealerships in Wichita, Kansas. Now, Kansas at least seems to be a pretty fair place. He doesn't have the dealership, and in 2022, he was banned from selling any cars in Kansas for being a sleazebag. And of course, you want to run a Carfax or auto check on a car if you're buying a used car, just because the one thing they generally always have is the correct odometer readings, because there's state inspections, and each inspection's registered. It'll give you the mileage. At least they banned him right away, so he can't sell cars and rip people off anymore. Jody Draw says, I got transmission issues in my 2014 Honda Civic. Got 130,000 miles. It shudders from low speed to about 30. Should I get in additives or have it flushed? I want to do preventive maintenance. Do not flush. Never flush an automatic transmission. You can get pieces and flush them, and they'll jam in little holes, and it won't even go down the road in its own power. Yours is shuddering. First thing you want to do is add some anti-shudder additive. There's some very good ones out there. Go to your local auto parts store and say you want the best anti-shudder treatment you can put in the transmission. And then you'd pour the additive in and give it about 250, 300 miles of driving. If it fixes it, great. Now, if not, then what you would want would be a guy like me to check it out with his fancy scan tool, put the data on, and drive it. To rebuild the transmission on a Honda costs $3,000 to $5,000. In that case, you might probably think about getting rid of the vehicle. Try some anti-shudder and go from there. Pray that helps. Now, let's say it doesn't help, and it does that shuddering, but it still goes down the road. Just keep driving it. They'll often only do it at lower speeds for years, and you can keep driving the vehicle. It isn't going to do any more damage. I mean, whatever is wrong, you're going to have to replace it when it breaks anyways. Most of the time when people get a Honda transmission, they're better off buying a remanufactured one than trying to fix theirs, because to actually build one by itself is a pretty expensive, if not impossible, procedure. Ray just says, I have no third gear in my Chevy. I got 07 Chevy Express 1500. It won't go into third gear. Have you ever seen this? It's got 190,000 miles on it. Well, I've only seen 2 things do that. Either you have a failed transmission control module, the TCM, or a bad automatic transmission. Unfortunately, from my experience, it is often the transmission itself. But go to a guy like me that has a real fancy scan tool. We road test them. With our machine, we can force it to change from gear to gear. If we can force it to go from second to third gear, and it does, then you know the transmission is good, but the transmission control module is bad. But if we try to force it to go into third using our computer that bypasses the TCM, and it still won't go into third, you'll know the transmission shot. You have to rebuild the transmission. It would be a very expensive endeavor. Well, old Elon Musk is up to his tricks again. Now he says he has plans to build a $25,000 Tesla so he can outpace the Chinese electric vehicle giants that make tons of them in China, right? Of course, including him. He's got a factory. He doesn't mention that, right? Now, I guess old Elon's mad because Tesla isn't the leader in EV sales worldwide. The Chinese company BYD took it over at the beginning of 2024. They say that they're making a new EV, and the code name of it is Redwood. Ooh, redwood trees, right? Now, it's supposed to be a compact crossover that they say they're going to make 10,000 every week, and the production would start in June 2025. I don't listen to much of what old Elon has to say, especially about the future. He can barely make it through the present. Elon says he's going to make EVs more accessible to the masses with low-cost Teslas, but maintain their performance and technology. Yeah, what a line of baloney. It's not so great as it stands now. You start making them cheaper. Whoa. He also said he's going to expand plants to Mexico. Well, that makes sense. You're going to make things cheaper. You're going to make them in Mexico, right? So what, that all the Mexican stuff that we get sent here, a lot of it's crap, falls apart? Well, what does he care? He can sell it cheaper, right? That in a year, he's going to have a $25,000 compact SUV for everyone. Electric vehicles for everyone. Well, all I gotta say is, let's see how that one pans out. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.